brothers, let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about the Book of Enoch. You know, with shrouded realities all over the world, the Book of Enoch is shrouded in so much mystery.
Yep.
So much mystery. But it's been fun kind of learning about it because it's
been a week.
It's one of those things that could be reality, could be not, could be a little reality, could be not.
Could be a story from a schizophrenic guy.
Could be inspired by mushrooms.
Could be legit. I don't know.
Could be the inspired word of God. And we're making fun of it.
Nope.
Nope.
Not that.
Not going to do that.
Not that.
But yeah, so starting out, let's just talk about the Book of Enoch and what it is and where it came from, kind of the historical significance of it.
Let's just talk about for a second. This week, we've had a week to really research this, so we're definitely, geniuses on the subject.
Mm-hmm.
But
the internet taught me well.
The internet taught me well. YouTube's a great resource.
Mm-hmm.
Google,
as we'll find out. I'm sure we'll do an episode on Google here before too long.
Yeah.
But it's 3 books of Enoch. Is that how I understand it?
Yes, 3 different books of Enoch, possibly all of them written by different people.
Yes.
Which makes it kind of hard to take serious.
None of them being Enoch.
None of them being Enoch, but possibly passed down from Enoch. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Let's think about it this way. Let's think about how the Book of Enoch would have had to survive from Enoch himself. All right. He lived.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't die.
Right.
There's a whole little area we can go down.
Yeah.
He had a son named Methuselah. He had a son named Lamech.
Yep.
His son was Noah.
Yep.
Which means everything got wiped out with Noah.
In a flood.
So Noah would have had to have his great-grandfather's book in his back pocket when he got on the boat.
And it doesn't mention that biblically at all.
Not at all.
0.
But he could have.
I just think it opens up, what was the world like pre-flood? What did it look like before?
A Michael Bay movie. That is what what it looked like.
If you're on YouTube, that's I've looked at some of those visuals. You got I heard today, and this blows my mind. 4,000 feet tall were some of the giants that they are claiming walked the earth at this point.
Giants or fallen angels?
These were giants. They would be Nephilim, according to what I saw on the internet. No,
Okay, so
this is the internet.
Yeah.
And I don't know what.
So let's back up. Nephilim are the love child of angels that said, I'm done with you, God. I'd rather get with these ladies on earth.
Right.
Poor choice.
Poor choice.
That didn't work out. That didn't work out too well.
I love you, baby. But if I had my choice, I'd stay in heaven. I'm going to get in so much trouble for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, she's my wife's so excided about listening to this.
Yeah, she's going to love it.
Like,
under the bus in the first 5 minutes.
We might have to cut that out. But anyway,
nope.
Nope. The editor says, nope, that's going in. So in the Book of Enoch, it states that angels defected from God, came to earth. They met up on this mountain. They said, seriously, I'm paraphrasing, but this happened according to the Book of Enoch. Hey, ladies, we want to get with you. They had babies. And those babies became the giant.
Right.
Those babies became the Nephilim.
Right.
We don't know how tall or how big the fallen angels were according to the Book of Enoch or the Bible.
We don't know. But people are saying, I've heard anything from 9 to 12 feet to as tall as cedars, I want to say is...
I would imagine as angels, they could shapeshift, right? Different forms of,
So you think they was probably the size of regular people?
The
angels themselves, probably.
Maybe. What we know about biblically accurate angels is that they were terrifying.
Do we know that?
Rings with eyeballs.
Some of the ones that came down and talked to, wasn't Moses like
But
Scared to
okay,
death?
let's back up a little bit. I mean, I'd be scared to death if something come out of the sky and talk to me too.
That's true.
But back up a little bit because they're named as sons of God in Genesis 6, right?
Little s.
So-
Sons of man.
Yeah, little s,
Little s,
sons of God.
Yep.
So are they made in God's image like we are?
I think they
'Cause
would
I-
have to be to.
And we're also going to just go ahead and say that they had the tools to do the job.
Okay.
I mean, they
That's
would have
gross,
had.
but-
They would have had to have had the tools to do the job.
They
If
would.
that's the case. I mean,
that's where the shape shifting comes in. Like,
We know how babies are
that's
made.
weird. Don't use that in the same sentence. But I mean, would they look like us? And if that's the case, are we saying that they just knocked their wings off real quick, flew down to Earth,
became human-like,
became human-like, or were they human-like?
or both?
Okay. Man, we're getting deep already. I mean,
and we didn't even throw
No.
out our disclaimer yet.
No, we didn't.
Our big disclaimer.
Yes.
This is not biblically could be. This is not scholarly
you
knowledge.
don't need it to be like.
This is not the inspired word of God.
Yes.
Let's back up.
Not at all.
Genesis 6 that everybody's freaking out about is 4 verses.
Yeah.
It's like Genesis 6, 1 through 4.
So the
And
Book
it's
of Enoch.
flipped, lately, it's just flipped the world on its head. I don't know
That's it.
what's going on with that. Everybody's reading it.
That's a whole
That's-
other subject.
That's a whole nother subject.
Why
but
does everybody care
I-
anymore?
I don't know.
I'm 42 years old, been going to church most of my life, almost all my life.
Mhm.
Never knew Enoch existed.
Yeah,
Might
no,
have heard his name, but didn't care.
That's all I'm hearing about now.
Now all of a sudden it's all over the internet. It's all over YouTube. It's all over TikTok.
Why?
You go type in Book of Enoch on YouTube and you've got so much material to watch.
Yes, you do.
Truth
And
or not,
Yep.
some of it seems to be a little
Little wacky,
produced,
little crazy.
a little clickbait. But
I mean, I've given all of those an opportunity
I did too.
to just sway me a little bit.
Did y'all see a lot of the AI stuff?
Yep.
That really creeped me out.
Yeah, it was
So many videos, about 2 minutes in, it sounds great, got good pictures, and then you're like, it ain't right here.
Yep.
Looks a little AI-ish, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then I quickly cut it off after that because I feel a little creeped out being given biblically scholarship from a robot.
Yeah.
But-
absolutely. I don't.
But anyway, we're not. What we're saying is our
Take this just
Our-
as a book that somebody wrote. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all it is. Just words.
work of 1 week of research should not sway your way of thinking at all. We want you to. Our hope is that you listen to this, you think about it, do your own research, talk about it with your buddies,
Yeah, that's it.
trigger conversation.
Yep.
'Cause that's all we're doing,
That's
is just-
all this is.
Yep.
We're 3 dudes in a
It's
room.
just something that's in
watched-
our reality, and we're just talking about it.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's
It's a little shrouded.
Shrouded in mystery.
it is shrouded in mystery.
Yes.
There's.
I love
mean-
dropping that name anytime
I mean,
we get a
yeah.
chance. We
what-
get
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
It's just
Shrouded
words
reality.
on paper, man.
That's right.
shrouded realities.
So people during the Old Testament seem to really utilize this book a little bit. I want to say it's in Jude.
Even in the New Testament.
Yeah. Okay. You've probably got a little something that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I was doing a little research on the internet. So you can get the entire Book of Enoch for free. Just Google Book of Enoch, and there's a Book of Enoch standard English version. And it's got a little preface at the beginning of it. Some dude wrote that tells the history of the Book of Enoch and all that good stuff, where it came from and how it's survived through time. So the Book of Enoch right now and throughout history in Ethiopia has been believed to be, it's part of their Bible.
It's still to this day part of their.
That's right.
And
And has been.
pretty
for-
much any Western culture, it does not exist as being biblical at all.
So apparently in about 400
AD.
AD, that's another thing. BC, AD, BCE.
Yeah, no,
Or-
I've thought about BCE a few times. You're just doing math that I don't understand.
Why
at that
did we
point.
change it?
I don't know.
How did human history change? What, like recently? I'm talking like very recently. Somebody said we're going to use different letters for the time of the universe. Where did that come from?
And you could tell me that it was 6 billion years ago, and I'd probably go, "Oh, okay."
Okay, so
I don't know.
For the sake of this show, let's BC 0 and back.
Yep.
Pre-Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
AD 0 and forward to now.
Okay.
For the sake of simplicity. But anyway, 400 AD, it was biblically canon. Is that the word? I just learned that word this week too.
Yes.
Canon.
No, I believe that it was in the biblical canon until 400 AD.
Sounds so much smarter.
It's just
Okay.
I mean, it's just a word.
Okay. So
I could be using it completely incorrectly, but I'm going to say it confidently and just hope that it works.
So these three idiots think canon means it's part of the Bible.
camera company.
Not camera company.
Yes.
Part of the... See, that's why we can't have nice
Yes.
things. Biblically canon means it's part of the Bible. So it was part of the Bible, biblically canon, up until, from what I understand, 400 AD, which means it was part of the Bible. Some really smart dudes said, no more, we don't trust it. Here's why. Some of the reasons I found why was because Enoch did not write the Book of Enoch.
It would be considered a pseudepigrapha is the word.
Pseudepigrapha.
I heard that today, and I was like, man, you got to find a way to use that.
Got to drop that
You
word.
just use pseudepigrapha in a sense.
As Google says, because I had to type that in, pseudepigrapha are works that are falsely attributed to another author whose author is a figure from the past.
Okay. So somebody pretending to be Enoch said, I'm Enoch writing this book, but it wasn't him. But they used his writings or his stories passed down through history?
Maybe.
Yeah.
We don't know that. That's definitely not a yes for sure.
Yeah. So that's one reason why it was taken out of the Bible, because you can't really...
The Bible is truth,
verify.
and if you're automatically like, oh, I'm going to impersonate Enoch and write this book, that's like strike one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it's like you have to come to the conclusion of your own thinking of divine intervention, or was that a man-made removal?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a Christian, you have to believe that God's word is uncorruptible, and that was a divine intervention of cleaning the Bible. I mean, to me, the Book of Enoch is almost like this big slice of fat, almost, because when you read it, you're like, this is a lot of information all at once.
A lot of information.
And it's like, is any of it useful? Not really. It's just kind of a story of just how everything was.
There was a lot of books in that time too. I mean, this could just be a play off of Genesis, and some of this could be accurate. I mean, it's not that all of it's,
it's like
garbage.
A side quest of Genesis.
But yeah, it's a side quest.
Chapter 6.
Yeah.
Like
those 4 verses kind of dictated what happened, at least in Enoch 1.
Yeah.
Or 1 Enoch.
Yeah.
So.
And in Genesis 6, you only got a verse maybe of what happened.
Just touched in.
And even it's not even really talking about Enoch. You get Enoch in the lineage.
Right.
But Genesis 6 doesn't talk about Enoch.
Not at all.
As a
Genesis
prophet.
5, and Genesis 5 only talks about he walked with God, and then God took him.
Then he didn't.
And that's literally what you know about Enoch.
Yeah. So he walked with God. According to the Book of Enoch, he walked with God, came back, told his story. His story got handed down, made it into a book.
Game of telephone, probably.
Game of telephone could have had a lot to do with it. But maybe not. But maybe did.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just crazy that he was, of course, he was an important person to God, right? But he's so mysterious.
Yeah.
That will also bring up an entirely different conversation of why did God take him?
Yeah.
There are many that believe that he will be one of the witnesses in the end of time.
Yeah. I was...
Him and Elijah.
When you walked in, that's what I was reading.
Him and Elijah will be the only 2 people that never died. Could be the 2 witnesses in Revelation. Is that right?
That's
Revelation
wild.
11.
You're making my brain buzz right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I was falling down that rabbit hole as I was prepping for this just a little bit ago.
And where is does it say where Enoch was taken to heaven just for
It's in Genesis 5. He lived 365 years and then God took him.
Literally said that. Back up. But yeah, Revelations 11 is the reference that Stephen just made. That was there's a couple of witnesses that come down, and because him and possibly Elisha doesn't give either names, it just says the witnesses came down, died in the Revelation prophecy, which means this hasn't happened yet. They came down, they get killed by the wicked. I think it said the wicked.
Yeah, okay. We should probably get that pretty straight.
Put a note in that. Everybody go double check me. But get killed by the wicked. They lay in the street untouched for 3.5 days. God breathed life back into them. And then they got taken to heaven. And the thought is, going back a little deeper into the Bible, is the Bible does say everyone owes a death, including Jesus. He died. These two guys.
So it's like they have to complete the circle.
Yeah,
like because it'd be the only two people.
Sure. That's right.
The only two people who hadn't died have to die.
Yep. They come back to Earth. They do their thing.
Okay.
Shake up the whole world during the end times.
Mm-hmm.
Then they die. They get killed, and then they lay there, and then they get taken up.
So everything has to be complete.
So I'm saying, man, this is.
I mean, we
barely talked about what's in the book.
Just so y'all know, we're 16 minutes into this.
Oh my goodness.
We've went from the front of the book to the back of the book in 16 minutes.
That's why I got a Red Bull.
Probably completely inaccurate with half of it.
Yes.
Hey, we're just three dummies talking about
That's
it.
right.
Yep.
So if you want to listen with us, that's great.
Yep.
Yes.
And
Turn
just keep
this on, take a bath, close your eyes.
Right.
Fall into sweet, sweet sleep while you listen to our smooth, buttery voices.
Talk about
We're going to talk about the end of the world and the beginning of the world and
fallen angels.
And
so anyway, let's get into that fallen angels. That's what got us down this rabbit trail of the Book of Enoch. We in Genesis 6. Let me find it.
Let's read those verses just so everybody that isn't familiar can at least
fat mouthing it.
Yep. Yeah. Genesis 6, New King James Version, chapter 6, verse 3. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. All right. That brings up another thing.
Yep.
People before then used to live almost 1,000 years.
Yep.
We'll get into that in a little bit. I want to talk about that more. But next verse, chapter 6, verse 4. And this is all we get of the Nephilim mentioned. New King James Version says, there were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward. Also afterwards a weird thing. So we'll try to dig into that. When the sons of God came to the daughters of men, and they bore them children. Told you they get with the ladies. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. So Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. Some translations do say Nephilim. Some say Nephilites. Some say giants.
Mm-hmm.
But
so they're saying the fallen angels were the son of God?
Yep.
Okay. Because I was getting confused. I thought they were saying the Nephilim.
I watched a guy earlier. He discussed that's actually sons of God. The only time that's ever brought up, it's I think 4 times in the Bible completely. And all of those are in reference to angelic beings of some sort.
Okay.
Which makes sense, I guess.
There was a big debate about what that actually meant, but he did the research. I'm going to definitely steal his idea. His research said each one of those times that it was referenced did reference an angelic being of sorts.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So the Book of Enoch is an offshoot, a side quest, if you will, of those 2 verses that I just read.
Yes.
Yep.
So we heard that. We was trying to figure out Nephilim. What are Nephilim?
How it relates to today.
How it relates. Why is it in there? Because it's kind of creepy to think big old giants.
Like why even
around.
put that? Why even have that in there?
Why even have that in there?
It's like it just confuses people probably.
Yep. So then we stumbled across the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Enoch. If you haven't read it, I listened to it this week. Downloaded it on Audible, and it gets it's a hard listen. It's a hard read. It's a bunch of these and thous and old English.
It sounds like a very intense Dungeons and Dragons game.
Very.
It's
Which I heard some commentary that a lot of Tolkien and all the, Middle Earth writers and stuff like that, they drew a lot of inspiration from Book of Enoch and this kind of stuff and this kind of
makes sense. A great one to use.
Yeah, I mean, if there isn't a movie about the Book of Enoch, I don't see why they don't have a movie about the Book of Enoch, because that is intense.
It is true.
I mean, the visuals.
Yeah.
Just read some verses, or not verses, but read some words from that book, and just close your eyes and think about it. It's like, what the crap?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. So they apparently angels was hanging out in heaven. They were called the Watchers. So the first chapter, first book, first part of the Book of Enoch.
Or one Enoch, I think is.
Yeah. One Enoch is called the Book of Watchers.
Yeah.
And it kind of tells their story about how they came to earth. And it gets pretty in depth to it. And according to Enoch and the Book of Enoch, he got this information by being ascended to heaven and escorted around by an angel. It gives his name. I didn't write it down, but an angel by a specific name takes him around and shows him what's going on, like behind the scenes. Like if heaven was backstage, he took him backstage.
Just moved the veil a little bit.
Yep, and said, "Hey, check this out. This is the craziness that's going on up here." So anyway, so these angels, they're watching over the earth. They think chicks are hot.
They said, "Hey, for real estate."
Yeah, so they hop down. They say, "Let's get together, guys. Come on, let's go down here and get us some ladies."
And when they do that, you got to keep in mind of like,
how do you think that happened?
When like the break?
How do you think they got here? They just fell from the sky?
It said they descended and met on a certain mountain. It gives
Mount Hermon.
Okay.
And there's a whole lot of stuff that's happened on Mount Hermon.
Really?
Historically? Oh, yes. Go dig into Mount Hermon. There's a bunch of weird stuff that's happened at Mount Hermon.
Like recently or just throughout history?
Throughout history.
Okay.
Mount Hermon is a hotbed, obviously, of all of the things that happen.
Yes.
So.
Is it relevant today? Is it like a thing?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But it is still a mountain. But yeah, there's Mount Hermon may be something that we have to dig into as well, because that's one of those that pops up pretty often in some of this weird stuff that we hear about.
Yeah. Okay. They had some strange names too. It was like a bunch of Swedish companies. That's what they were named as.
Dagum Herman?
No, the angels.
Yeah, the angels was what?
Oh, Azazel the herb?
Yeah,
it sounds like an herb.
Yeah, every one of them had L at the end of it.
Yeah. Which I want to look into why that is. There's got to be a reason why they all have L at the end. Like, what is in that language? Like, what is the meaning of that? Because some languages, like, they put a certain twist on names and it means something.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like, you got like Gabriel and kind of common names like that, but then there were some weird ones that was just like
Azazel.
Yeah,
that sounds like something you put on your potatoes.
Ding dong.
No, that sounds like
you just added L to the end.
Like a butt cream. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, it sounds like an herb to me. It sounds like something you put on your potatoes before you cook them. Be sure you get some of that Azazel.
Is that extra Azazel?
Yeah, I want a little extra Azazel in mine.
So anyway, Azazel and the boys, they said, "Hey, let's go down. Let's meet on this mountain. We'll go out and get us some women," and they did. And then we all, like we mentioned earlier, the birds and the bees happened and they made babies, and those babies became Nephilim and then started genetically making the world impure, because you have human mixed with angel DNA.
So let's talk about why they would want to do that. So I'm gonna definitely attribute this to Tim Alberino. He's got many podcasts, wrote a couple books. His reasoning for that is when God created man, he gave us dominion over the earth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So we have dominion because we are made in the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
So for us to be made in the image of God, he likened it to a king that would send a regent out to a world or to a conquered area, and we would be that regent. Right?
For people that don't know what regent is, not that I'm one of them, but
like military
a representative, basically, that's going to rule over an area.
I knew that. I was
because the king
for the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew where you knew where it was.
My name's
absolutely. But he would send a representative over this conquered area.
Yep.
And if you were the guy riding the horse into this area, you would need to have some kind of signet of some kind showing that you were from the king, right?
Yep.
Well, that would be our likeness. That's because we were made in the image of God.
Makes sense.
They can look at us and go,
You were created
he
by
looks
him?
like you were created by him. You have dominion over this area.
Yeah.
So his theory is that they came down because they wanted dominion over the earth.
The angels.
The angels came down.
Okay.
They wanted dominion over the earth of some kind. And that would be a way to gain dominion if you procreate with someone who has dominion. You would
Clean
be a
out the
prince
genetics.
or you would be a whatever.
To clean out the pure genetics.
That's his theory. I probably muddied that up a little bit.
I mean,
but
it makes sense because as an angel, it's like you don't own anything. I would imagine like you're just there doing whatever God says.
He
to tell you to
says
do.
that there are older siblings. Angels are our older siblings.
Okay.
Is how he relates them. Is they are possibly this isn't the first time we've done this whole world thing.
And then
Is
it
his thought?
also makes sense too on why Noah was chosen to be the
Because
one to carry
he would have
on.
been a pure
That's why it gave his
from
genealogy.
Adam. That's
Yeah.
why his genealogy is mentioned all the way through.
Yeah, Enoch was the 7th generation after Adam,
Right.
and then Enoch was Noah's great grandpa.
Yes.
So Noah's bloodline would have been pure
That's
based on the genealogy.
and it would be coming straight from Adam that way as pure if you follow his genealogy. It's confusing. I mean, you just sit and stare at it and have to look at it a few times just to even wrap your
Write it
brain
out on
around what
board,
you're
yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But I said all that about Dominion.
Mhm.
Let's also back up. They probably just thought we looked good, and they're like,
yeah,
hey,
they're like that's a
I
prime.
want to know about that.
yeah,
That's
I mean, that
that's a
could have been
nice
part of
that's
it
a
too.
nice New York
Look at
steak
that.
right there.
Look at that.
That thing is on sale. I
did
mean,
they make a right choice there?
Tell me what you mean.
Like, you have the choice to be an angel or go
no.
get the ladies.
I mean, you're just going to live in paradise or there's a daggone woman down here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, I think it is said they're like buried under the earth
Yeah,
around jagged rocks so they can't get it back out.
Yeah, the
until-
Book of Enoch said they were
Yeah.
like a special part of hell.
Yeah. I mean, they will come back according to certain things,
Okay.
prophecies. I want to say that they will be back, but they're going to be judged and it's not going to go well.
right? Like, hey, you left your.
Well, they made a pact with each other of like, hey, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not going to do this by myself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take all this blame. We're making a pact on
Yep.
this and we're
They
all
said,
going
"Aight,
in.
night dog.
And I don't know if this is like well, he can't fire us all. Come on,
Yeah.
man. Let's just go down here and do this.
And he most
what are they-
definitely did.
And he definitely went, nah.
And they may not have known. I mean, because this is fresh ground in human history. I'm sure they had to have known.
If they're sitting there making a pact, they're like, nah, this is bad.
They know what's up.
But
Yeah.
I mean, they're just like teenage boys, man. Just
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
down like,
The
it
boys
don't matter.
are back in town. Boys
They're
are
just, it's like teenage boys that just don't know what to do with
Yeah,
it.
with
I
the-
mean, they're just like,
You got-
I got
you
to.
got-
Hey, imagine being these girls' dads. Like, think
Well,
about it. Think about your daughter brings home.
The thought is this would
just
be,
just a light. Just like they open the doors like this is my boyfriend. It's just a light bulb. Just
I mean,
can't
the
even
thought
look at- you
is
can't even
that
look
they
at 'em.
were, these would have been Cain's daughters that they were. That's the thought, the running theory at least, is that these would have been Cain's daughters. And it didn't say that they came down and just had their way with these women. I mean,
It did say they took them as wives, though, didn't it?
it took them as wives. So, I mean, if a light bulb comes down from the sky, you're probably not going to be like, that one right there, that's the one I want. If
Yeah.
you're
You're
I
like-
mean, that doesn't make sense.
you're
I
like,
would think that these people or these sons of God would look similar to us, probably better. But, I mean, definitely better than the three in this room. But
definitely.
I mean,
they probably have 12-pack abs. I mean,
Yeah,
just
I mean,
chiseled face.
Spitting
Just-
sick game.
Just
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's coming down from
just
the
Arnold
heavens.
Schwarzenegger's and Brad Pitt coming from the sky.
And you
flying-
got like Toby over here, just like
And got Toby.
He's a 5'4" stump. It's just like big hands, just
yeah,
like
I mean, they didn't. They looked at us and they're like, "Nah, I'm going to that guy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then their deformed giant freak babies come out.
So let's just tie all this into another weird thing.
Uh-huh.
I mentioned earlier. Do you think they flew down here with wings? I personally don't.
Do you think they just fell?
They came down with chariots of fire? Isn't that in there?
I don't remember.
Could that be a saucer?
Chariot. Because a chariot looks like, kind of looks like a car, kind of like a wagon.
Is that a flying saucer? Is that their mode of transportation?
Stuff that's just depicted on the Egyptian hieroglyphs.
A chariot's got to have horses on it, right? Or can it just be a chariot by itself?
Just be a chariot by itself.
They're like,
it could just be what they described as a chariot.
Yeah, that's what they know as
they didn't know that it was, anything else.
Yeah, they say they didn't come down in a bowl or a plate.
Yeah. We think flying saucer UFO because of movies, TV,
what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
Weird stuff like that. The government.
Yeah.
But back then, like if it was, that could be what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
Very possible.
The trail from it could be the fire that they, from the chariot, the flaming chariot. There's fire, there's smoke coming off of it.
I think that as people, we all have a depiction of what an angel looks like in our head because we've been taught to think that way.
Yeah.
They're, they all wear robes and they play harps.
Yeah.
And they all have little wings and they can fly around.
Yeah.
Yeah. What says that?
Yeah.
Where is that said
right.
that these are, they got halos on their head and they glow a little bit. None of that said.
Aren't they described to have wings though?
Maybe. I don't know that. If they are, that is not something I know of.
No, but I don't think they're described as like people like us with wings. I think they're described as like these other things
like
with wings.
The cherubims, aren't humanoid,
right?
Described.
Mm-hmm.
They've got wings, but
that means there's layers to the angels, right? Like there's a hierarchy of angels. It's like.
We are so talking out our butts right now.
I know.
I have no idea.
I love it though.
I do too.
And
yeah.
we're just on fire right now.
So we're still on the fallen angels part, right?
Yeah.
We're still there.
Yeah, we're still there.
Okay. So fallen angels come to earth.
Yeah.
They make babies.
Yep. Probably very disgustingly ugly babies.
Doesn't go well for anybody.
No.
So, all right. So stepping into reality a little bit.
Yep.
While researching this, there's a lot of archaeological evidence of giants.
Yes.
Like you said, Stephen, some of the stuff I heard, they were saying, 8 to 10 foot. Some of them a lot more. The latest one I listened to was an archaeologist in South Africa that was like finding big stuff, 40, 50 foot stuff, like skulls, giant.
Did he come with any evidence of this?
Just that he said he's dug it up and touched it himself.
Yeah.
I looked it up on the internet. Could have been scrubbed. It didn't.
Why though? Why would they scrub it? That's another thing for me.
I guess it just doesn't
reasoning?
fit the narrative. I don't know.
What narrative though? Like the giants didn't exist? I don't know the narrative of that.
Right. I guess if the narrative of the world is to turn you away from God, they would want to scrub everything that's evidence of God.
And mark anything that is like otherworldly or other realm to be fairy tales. So if you believe in things like Bigfoot or aliens or giants, you're a psycho that thinks that
you shouldn't have the kids.
Yeah, like let's get this guy out here because he's a crazy. But if someone comes to you and says, "Here's a giant skull that I found," this proves Genesis.
It would 100% prove what we read in Genesis 6 there.
So of course
we know that giants did exist.
Yep.
David and Goliath, that's depicted very clearly. Now, I think most people say 9 feet is kind of what 9 to 12 is what I've heard for Goliath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So not just the biggest.
And that would have been further down, right?
Yeah.
But if you're talking, that would have
Enoch,
been
right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would have been way further down.
Because you were saying before, like something
flood would have already happened at that.
Yeah, point. Like these 4,000 foot tall giants. That's a mountain. Like that's a mountain.
Yeah, that to me seems completely. Yeah. You're talking Goliath is a tiny little dude.
Yeah.
If
it would make sense after the flood, the smaller giants would have made it or whatever.
Does it?
I don't know. Maybe
That's
not.
so weird to me because and I think we've got to pull the verse back up and let's discuss.
After.
Let's discuss. Does it say after the flood or does it say after they procreated? They still existed.
There were giants on the earth in those days.
Okay.
Also
in the days of
afterward,
what?
While he's talking about Noah.
Well, no.
And getting ready to judge.
Right there, he's talking about something else, is he not?
I gotta go to the back.
Okay. Thanks for telling everybody.
There you go. And the Lord said, oh, that was mine. There it is. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those. So, yeah, I mean, it had to have been right around the time of the flood. So,
yeah, this is pre-flood though. That's what. So let's go. The Nephilites were famous great men and fighters.
Where's this?
This is in Genesis 6, verse 4.
Different translation, obviously.
Yes, I'm in the easy version.
Here it is.
Of the Bible app. The Nephilites lived on the earth at that time, and for some time after that. During that time, the sons of God were having sex with the daughters of men, who gave birth to their children. Period. The Nephilites were famous great men and fighters.
Okay.
So are we saying that they were here before these angels came down, or is this after the flood? That's, I think, where everybody gets a little bit of a hang up there. Because how did they live after the flood if the only things that remained were Noah and his family?
So let's talk about who was on the boat to answer that question.
Yep.
All right. You got Noah on the boat. You got his 3 sons on the boat.
Right.
And then here's where I think that may have infiltrated.
Okay.
The ladies.
So you think
Noah took his wife.
Noah's sons' wives.
Might have been a genetic trace of these giants.
Right.
And then their the genetic marker of giantism comes carried through to their kids. Might have been a recessive gene.
Could have been.
Like skip the trait.
Yeah, we don't
skip the generation.
Yeah, like their kids may not have been freaks, but sorry to any tall people out there.
I don't think that they would have been considered freaks at this point.
I mean,
probably were because they were, wiping out any kind of resource.
Get that ketchup off the top shelf for me.
Pick up that giant tree for me, please.
I mean, it says right there that they were great fighters.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're 12 foot tall and you lose against, and
I heard some commentary too that these guys were, and this was from archaeologists based off of what they were finding because the giant skulls were shaped different than human skulls. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what brought in with skull forming and stuff that other ancient civilizations did because they were trying to make themselves look like the giants who were made royalty.
Yeah.
I mean, because think about it. Like,
no one can.
Yeah. Like, I'm the king now. What are you going to do about it, little man?
Yeah.
This is my land.
I think that goes back to my previous point a little bit of dominion, possibly.
Yeah.
And could that be partly what these angels were doing is trying to gain some kind of dominion over the earth?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now imagine if you got these giants and made like a football league. How intense would that be?
Oh, that'd
just
be
a bunch of 12-foot dudes.
Everybody be watching that.
Clamoring.
Space Jams. The Monstars.
Yeah. It'd be the Monstars. The Monstars versus the Nephilites.
That's so legit.
Michael Jordan comes in.
Michael Jordan comes in and he shows them all how to play basketball.
No football. Wait.
Either one. I don't even care. That would just be great.
That would be pretty good.
I had something crazy smart to say, and then I get to thinking about the Monstars. Anyway.
Oh, man.
That's why I like this.
I mean,
you got to think about it like that, though. Like, reality now is different through the eyes of the people pre-flood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they lived in a different world than we did.
It's like if we told them, if we had a conversation with somebody at that time and told them everything that we know, their heads would probably like,
I don't think so.
You don't think? You think it's crazier?
So glad
you think
you
it's
said
the opposite?
That's where I was about to go. Okay, if the Book of Enoch's real, God, I'm still struggling on what's real in it and what's not. Still studying that. Don't take my word for gospel.
It's just words
truth.
on paper.
Just words on paper. Just saying things. The angels that came down in the Book of Enoch, it did say that it taught them different skills.
Yes.
It taught them metallurgy. It taught them how to fight. It taught them.
Azazel was doing weaponry and like shields and stuff, correct? Yeah.
Yep. Taught them astrology. Some of them was teaching them witchcraft.
Right.
Talking about making things with roots. And so like teaching them about, if they're talking about things of roots, I'm thinking medicines.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a chance that their civilization would have been just as advanced as ours.
Makes sense. I mean,
In a
because
different way, I would think.
probably a more efficient way. Because if you have all that knowledge, you know,
And that's straight knowledge from the source. This is like, these guys know everything. These guys know how it was made. They know how to get it out. They know how to do it.
Sure.
We had to learn it.
I think that it would have been probably more on the primitive side still, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't think it would be on like...
it'd be a learning curve because you got these.
There's no ancient podcast where the dudes are getting together, the Nephilites are getting together and doing that, but...
So there was a lot of time spent though. So
Sure.
So look at this. Enoch lived 365 years before he was called up.
Yep.
Methuselah lived almost 1,000.
Mhm.
969 years.
When did he have Lamech?
Lamech. It didn't say when he had Lamech, but it did say that Lamech had Noah when he was 182 years old. And then he lived another 600 something. He lived to 777 years.
Interesting.
Wild that's number's how long.
That's an interesting number. Yeah.
And that Enoch lived 365
Yeah.
days of the year. So time, there was a lot of time. Of time. Think about if your body could stay the health it is now. We're crazy healthy 30, 40 something year olds,
Right.
20 year olds. You're 20 what?
25.
25? You're what?
32 in a few days.
Okay, so we got 20s, 30s, and 40s here. Think about if our body stayed the way they were now and say you're going to live for another 800 years.
Shoo.
You would have figured it out.
How smart would you be in that?
You'd be.
Well, there's got to be a reason that he's like, okay, yeah, 120 is where we're
That's
capping
enough.
it. Yeah, 120, we're capping it there.
Yeah. So my theory, my thought, you've got all this time to learn all this stuff. You get directly from the source how to do crazy things, like get different metals out of the earth. And it even listed the different metals, soft metal, iron, bronze, brass. It listed like all the basic metals. You're getting direct from the source how to use that. That's mining
Those
getting it out,
and
making it into things. All the metallurgy, everything we know now, they had it. And then they had hundreds of years to learn about it.
Do you think they had computers?
Could have.
I mean,
it's possible.
I mean,
we're
we only
talking pre-flood.
Yeah. I mean, we've only had computers for the last 50, 60 years.
What year is it right now?
2024.
Okay. 2000 through some years. These guys lived half of that. They could have been riding around in cars.
So
in Teslas.
Let's back up. And we're definitely taking a left turn with this. But let's look at the pyramid right now.
Yep.
Let's think about that.
Okay.
How in the world was that built? Right? That's everybody's question. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Many would argue slave labor. I don't know. But again,
some say
we're
aliens.
talking. Some say aliens.
AKA.
But in full circle there,
angels?
that's kind of where
Mm-hmm.
I think that aliens, as we would say, I think that you could go back to the Nephilim or the fallen angels to maybe they showed them how to move these objects and stack these. How in the world are you going to stack a however many ton rock on the top of Giza?
How do a lot of archaeologists describe the cuts of the stone?
They don't.
They do. Laser cut precision.
Yeah. Crazy laser cuts. And then how do you move it?
Yeah.
We would struggle to move that today.
That's what I'm saying, man. There's evidence that their civilization pre-flood would have been just as good, if not better, than ours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Think about our world right now. If it was just done, we're all done. What all would survive?
Probably our bones.
Not even that.
Some. Yeah.
Some,
It'd be so far gone.
Yeah. Some would decompose, some would rot down. Some.
I mean, but then they would go see a skyscraper somewhere and then go, how in the world they do that?
Yeah. But 2,000 years from now, 4,000 years from now, nobody's finding a MacBook.
You know not. I mean,
nobody's finding a car.
You think it would decompose that quick and it would just be nothing?
Either that or it'd be just so far under the sediment. I mean, I would imagine. I mean, it depends on how you would go though. Is it fire? Is it flood? Is it explosion? I mean, what's the mode of departation?
The end of the book, it's fire. But I mean, then I don't think there's anything left.
Yeah.
But
we don't think there's going to be another wipeout. I was just throwing that as hypothetical, like to prove that, not prove, but just to throw out the theory.
The thought,
it could, they could have been smart.
Yeah, I 100% believe they were smart.
Yeah,
and I think that they learned a lot of this probably from these guys, and I think it was a barter to marry their wives.
Yeah.
That's kind of where my brain would go. Is like,
or they was feeling bad and they was like, hey, let me help you out here.
Yeah,
like crap, let's back. Maybe let's do some good.
Well, I don't think that it was thought of as good, because I think that could be where a lot of things turned at that point too. Of you're more focused on gaining knowledge of what you can do here rather than your knowledge of God and walking with God and things like that. I think there was maybe we weren't meant to know all these things that we know now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that may be why it was taken out of, because think about it, like Jesus come and changed everything.
Yeah.
All of it.
Mm-hmm.
So none of this stuff really matters.
No, it doesn't.
It's cool to think about.
It's cool to think about.
Cool to talk about.
I mean, but
there's a reason it was flooded out of history. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He did it for a purpose. And
yeah,
I think it was pretty clear that there were some things going on that shouldn't have been going on at that point.
Right. And I think from this angle too is like these people were thinking of these fallen angels as gods. So it's like they were
part of the Ten Commandments. Don't have any other graven images. No other gods before me.
Right.
And it's like, makes sense. If somebody was reading that before the Bible, they're like, oh, here's 14 other gods I should worship, which then ties in Greek mythology of
this cool guy knows how to make a bullet.
Yeah.
Like
that guy's awesome. He's the only thing I need to focus on.
You see that spear that guy made?
I can
cool.
conquer the world with this guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, why do I need anything else? And then ties in to me for what I found was the tying in of Greek mythology of that same, these different gods of different things. And,
I think that's 100% could be the case there. I don't think people just made this stuff up. The Greek mythologies and things like that. I mean, Hercules, very possible that he was
a giant.
Well, either a giant or
a fallen angel.
Or a fallen angel himself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would make sense. Just a different name. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's how it is with many cultures. Like it's like the same stories a lot of times, but just the names, like the stories resonate with each other. It's like the names get lost in translation.
Well, in most cultures, there is a flood that happened. In just about any culture, there is some talk of a flood that happened.
Yeah. And even archaeologists now.
Archaeologists are even like, yeah, that probably did happen.
Geologists,
Yeah. I mean,
formation of the Grand Canyon, all that stuff is.
Yep.
There's been stories of a flood in every culture.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to deny that that's real.
So even where I live, this blows my mind. My grandpa, we've got a limestone rock that we known was cut from a little hill closer to my house. And it's got a shark tooth. And we're a few thousand feet above sea level. Not a few, a couple. But
that's crazy.
So that proves
that there was water here at some point.
And this was my own eyes. This isn't something I found on the internet. We've got the rock with a shark tooth.
Yeah. There was water here at some point.
On a mountain.
Yeah.
1,000 foot above sea level.
It was probably just coincidence. I wouldn't worry about that.
It was dropped from the sky.
Sharknado happened.
Sharknado happened.
All right.
So flew out and went right in the rock.
No big deal.
Yeah. So don't be ridiculous, Joey.
So we covered fallen angels for the most part.
Yep.
We've covered Nephilim, giants. What are we going to call it? We covered that.
Yeah. So I do want to dig into Nephilim more.
You want to do that as a separate episode, or you want to do that
separate episode?
Yeah, I'm not prepped for.
all
I feel
of
like this could go for another hour.
Yeah. So where's our next step in the Book of Enoch? Where are we at now? After the giants are born, let's say giants are born, they're coming out, they're giants, they're ugly.
So there was a part of the Book of Enoch that I found interesting. It mentioned and used the word the elect a lot.
Yep.
Now, I don't want to get into biblical theology. Super deep subject.
Stay out of it.
Stay out of it. Scary, but
End
it
up
is
in
a
a
thing.
Calvinist,
Yeah.
a Calvinist cage, buddy.
But he does talk about the elect a lot. And he also references the elect one, which was supposedly supposed to be Jesus.
Right.
And
Doesn't he claim that he is, though? Enoch?
well, there was a group of the elect, so maybe he's part of that the group of the elect.
Okay. I don't know that enough. I've seen that today where
would that
people
tie
were
back-
saying that he called himself the Messiah kind of in this.
Which is
and
maybe why it was yanked out of the Bible.
should be
Yep.
100%.
100%.
So, but Enoch was not the one that wrote that. So let's back up.
Yeah.
So,
Telephone game.
And it's like, does that tie that it's saying that he's part of the elect tie back into the witnesses, you know? Does that tie back, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Could be.
He made
In Revelation.
yeah.
Right.
Elected to be part of the you know, that in game.
Yeah.
This is just
It's
me
a hard
thinking-
read. There's
Yeah.
there were so many different layers. And this was one of the things that make me question its
validity.
dependability of the Book of Enoch was you can tell as I was listening through it that the writer changed. The writing style, what it was calling things, changed throughout the whole 100-something chapters. It was a lot of chapters, but
Yeah.
you can tell that it was different people writing at different times of the book. So that kind of takes away the validity.
well, yes and no. I mean, we've had separate people wrote the Bible too, but
But they're credited.
And it's, I mean, definitely maintained as the word of God throughout. You know, however many, what was it, 400 AD when they set it all up or something like
Yeah. And the biblical scholars that put it all together that decided if it should be in it or not, they seen some inconsistencies with that book and what the rest of the Bible says.
That being said, I do think that there's things in it that can be drawn from how these people thought in this time frame.
Yeah, it can
100%.
it can paint a picture for us,
Especially
you know.
pre-flood.
Pre-flood days, I think that's, you know, you're closer to the source at that point of how people saw
Even if it
things.
wasn't him that wrote it.
Yeah, it wasn't.
still-
And that's 100%. I think there's no scholar anywhere that says Enoch wrote
Right.
any of this. But I mean, just more than anything, might be a decent history book in some ways. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And at the very least, just a cool fable that you can read and get
it's-
inspiration from.
Little side quest.
I put zero faith in anything that's in there, but it is kind of a cool little read.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the
there's
fact that they had all this, that whoever was putting this together however many years ago had this information. I mean, just like I couldn't come up with something that intricate and wild. It's like, but also it's useless at the same time. So I guess I could, I don't know. But like there was one part when they were describing the fallen angels is like the part you put in of like the 14 trees that don't wither during winter. It's like, why even put that in there? Like, what does that even have to do? Is like, is that a reminder or something?
Yeah.
But what is that? I don't get it. There's just like weird stuff like that throughout the whole thing. I'm like, I guess so. I mean,
Right.
why?
And like we mentioned before, there's parts of the real Bible that references Enoch and his writings.
I
And there
mean,
was,
Jude, I want to say, was the main one that people come back to.
And I was reading something too earlier. Find it, but there was a part where they were talking about Jesus, and in the Bible, it says somebody else talking.
This might have to be a part 2 episode.
What are we at now?
Maybe we're 54 minutes.
Nah,
Yeah.
Rogan goes for 3-4 hours.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
good.
Okay.
But but anyway, the translation of one of the descriptions of Jesus. There it is. I'm just going to read it. This was a part of the preface of the Book of Enoch that's on the internet. And I'm just reading what he said. So there is abundant proof that Christ approved the Book of Enoch. Over 100 phrases in the New Testament finds precedence that the Book of Enoch that in the Book of Enoch, another remarkable bit of evidence for the early Christians' acceptance of the Book of Enoch was for many years buried under the King James Version Bible mistranslation of Luke chapter 9, verse 35, describing the transfiguration of Christ. And this in quotations, and there came a voice out of the cloud saying, "This is my beloved son, hear him." Okay, and that's how it's written in the Bible. Apparently, the translator here wished to make this verse agree with similar verses in Matthew and Mark. But Luke's version of this verse in the original Greek reads, "This is my son, the elect one." And he tells the Greek word ho eklamenos.
That's it. You said that confidently enough, I wouldn't question it.
But anyway, that Greek word is translated as the elect.
When you said that, the lights flickered. That was weird.
Stop it.
I swear, the lights haven't flickered the whole time, and then you said that, and the lights flickered.
I'm telling you, I got another story.
Oh, gosh.
One of that. Anyway, but circle back. But yeah, so if this is true, if the original script of the Bible in Greek said the elect one, that is what Jesus was called in the Book of Enoch, was the elect one.
Okay.
So they talked about the elect, and then when he was specifically talking about the one person sitting next to God, it was the elect one. Okay. So it's got to have, Book of Enoch's got to have some validity.
Yeah.
If all this is true.
Yeah, I think that that's true. I think that there are certain things that you can definitely take from it and go, yeah, that's probably real.
And in the time of Jesus, they were a lot closer to when the Book of Enoch would have been real and legit, and the days of Noah. Like, I mean, these are a few generations away from Noah. They could have. Yeah. These are stories that could have been passed down for a while.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, they were probably still talking to people from that. I would imagine. I don't know
No, they would have.
It would have been close enough. It'd be like us to like the Civil War era, like that close probably. Like they're dead, but
we're talking 2,000 years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it'd be a little bit more.
Well, we're talking 2,000 years from flood to Jesus coming back. So yeah, that wouldn't be.
I thought it was a lot closer than that.
But still, I mean, that's still.
I mean, 2,000 years. We're 4,000 years out now. So if you follow the biblical timeline, then yes, it would be.
We're
about
talking
4,000.
about stuff and finding archaeological finds of stuff 2,000 years ago. So
I
mean, that would have fit.
Sure.
Like, and then they probably found a lot of alien bones.
Alien bones?
Alien.
Freudian slip there, but maybe.
There it is.
Alien bones.
I'm not trying to say anything, but could be aliens.
So anyway.
I have a joke.
Don't do it.
Don't.
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
We're already probably PG-12.
Yeah, 12 and a half, 12.6. We just keep going.
Yeah, we've already been talking about Nephilim or fallen angels and women and all kinds of things.
Shape-shifted.
Shape-shifting and all kinds of things. We should probably just not go wherever you were going to go.
Fantastic Four, that's what they are.
Yeah.
Ease up.
But anyway, so another circling back to my goosebump moment. We decided to talk about this was going to be our podcast today. I downloaded the Book of Enoch and was listening through it, and I felt weird about it.
Yeah.
Didn't know if I should be. Thought I might have been delving into.
Felt a little naughty.
I'm glad that you said that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think that this is one that has been. How do I want to say this? It's one that people definitely have put a stigma around. Is that the way to put it?
Like,
you're not going to hear this in church,
right?
You're not going to hear it in church
or Bible
I don't
study.
think you should hear it in church.
No. Because it puts you down a different road.
Whenever you dive into something like this, you kind of feel like you're doing something you shouldn't do.
Right.
And I don't know why that is, but I definitely felt that way too.
Okay.
Yeah, same. I had convictions.
I did too.
So I was feeling the same way. So I go to church the day after I started listening to it, feeling weird about it. Preacher gets up. First word out of his mouth is Enoch. And then he explains Enoch's life, and he didn't go into what we're going into today. Obviously,
he didn't want to freak out the
want to
freak out the people.
Didn't want to scare the kids in the room.
This isn't your Sunday school conversation here.
No, but he did talk about him walking with God and his age and his lineage to Noah. I'm 42 years old. I've never heard
anything about Enoch.
Yeah, and then
other than just somebody reading past a verse type thing.
If I heard the name Enoch, it went in one ear out the other, like just another guy in the Bible. But when I heard that, dude, goosebumps.
Clicking.
Yeah, goosebumps. It was like, and the weird thing was he talked about it for about 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Never circled back to it. It was like that portion.
It was like
right after we.
Did you look
we were gonna
around
do
at all
it,
and
too.
like see if anybody was even looking at him?
Yeah, did. I looked at my daughter. I was like, "This is what I'm reading. This is freaky." And she just like looked at me like, "You serious?" Like, yeah, this guy's talking about what I'm reading about right now.
And it's like, I've never heard this in my entire life.
Could you see anybody rustle in the
Yeah, or was it
in the
just like
crowd, or
just a?
it just
Did
glossed-
it
glazed
almost
over
feel
and
like
go
it
on?
was directed to you?
Yeah,
Did you have that
100%.
feeling of like
100%.
whoa?
Oh yeah, I was meant to hear this.
I'm getting talked to right now directly from the Holy Spirit. That's the way that
That's
felt.
crazy.
So after that, I felt better about digging into it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, with my convictions, I was like, I'm not going to read this and fall for anything. Like, change what I think now.
Right.
It's like this is just understanding history.
Yeah.
To me, this is just understanding history.
I've had conversations with people. There's one person in particular I'm thinking of, and he is a rambler, kind of like we are. But he started talking to me about the Book of Enoch. This was, I think I'm saying it wrong. Enoch.
I like Enoch.
Enoch.
I like it.
I mean, I'm from the South, and you can tell it. But anyway, this guy, he started talking to me about the Book of Enoch. I'm going to say it that way.
Yep.
And I thought this dude was nuts because I had no idea what this was.
Yeah, I didn't.
And he was talking to me about it, and there were these angels that came down and had sex with women. And I'm like, okay.
Nah.
I mean, I'm sitting there like, all right,
You
yeah,
paganist.
this dude's nuts. Like, this dude is
Like
absolutely
every
crazy.
listener listening to this right now.
Yeah, everybody else is sitting there like, these dudes are freaking ridiculous. But
Hey.
he sat there and he wore me out about it and just talked about it. And I smiled and nodded and just
Did the
okay,
Southern
man.
thing.
Yeah.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not going to talk you out of this. So
Yeah.
I was firmly against whatever he was talking about because I'd never been taught anything like this.
Yeah.
And where you go to church, you're probably never going to be taught anything about this. And like I said, I don't believe that you should be because it's not the inspired word of God. If it was the inspired word of God, it would be in the Bible.
Yeah.
But I do think it is worth looking at and just thinking, okay, maybe.
Just with some perspective.
Yeah, with the perspective of this is not going to change my salvation one way or the other.
Yeah. It's like all we know is like it was found with these other scrolls. It
We
was
didn't even talk
of
about
it.
We didn't even talk
Pieces
about
of
that.
it were,
Yeah,
not
pieces,
all of
okay.
it.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was not part of it. It was separate from it. It was
It was
found
separate.
with it.
Yeah.
It was the Book of Enoch was found with the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah.
Which was found in
47.
47.
Yeah, which isn't that when Israel
Yes.
became a country again? There you go.
Dude. Bam.
Mm-hmm.
Arm's length. Keep it in arm's length.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stay there, Enoch.
And the rabbit,
Don't get closer.
hole is dug.
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode. in
That's a
itself.
God thing in itself, is it not? I mean,
there's semblance in numbers and date.
sure, absolutely.
The way things
I
are
think our
happening.
brains just can't comprehend so much of this stuff. It's just like scrambled eggs.
Oh, we got to talk it out.
I know.
Get it out
Talk
there.
it out. I'm like, yeah,
We'll speak our gibberish and just let it go.
the meds aren't working. That's for sure. The meds aren't working. So where we at here? We've
So-
fallen angels, Nephilim. We're
Yeah.
what have we touched on?
Well,
We've touched on everything, but we've not
Every
dug
bit
into
of it.
anything.
Yep.
but that's all you really can do. Like it's
Yeah.
there's so much of it.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like that's probably like the, in quotations, important part of that is the touching from Genesis to that.
yeah, the explaining of the Nephilim. Most of I had a hard time listening to a lot of it because it was a lot of explanation of the lunar phases and how the moon works and stars work and the tilting and rotation of the earth. It was a lot.
How did they know about that?
Apparently from Enoch getting taught by the angels. He was like I said, he was led around, and according to the Book of Enoch, he was led around by the angel and taught all the secrets of the world. So he was given information that nobody else had. You know, they knew the sun came up, they knew the moon came up, they knew the moon looked different. They knew as the seasons went by, the sun kind of changed where it rose and fell.
Sure.
But they didn't understand.
This kind of sounds like a
How and
Joseph
why.
Smith situation, man. this sounds like a 14-year-old finding a tree or finding a book in a tree.
Yeah.
I mean, it just sounds that kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
us
maybe
just sitting here.
Maybe he's just a smart dude and he put a cool story with it.
Yeah. I mean, just hearing it right now.
But are you
just
that
like,
smart though in that? Are you that smart though?
Again, I think so.
I mean,
Maybe smarter because they don't have.
this sounds like some holy underwear type stuff, man. Like, I don't know.
I don't know what that means, but cool.
That's reverting back to the Joseph Smith situation. There. That's just
Holy, I was thinking underwear with holes in it. Why
No.
you got?
No, I'm talking.
Why you got old
I'm
tiny
talking
whiteys?
Joseph Smith stuff there again,
Okay.
but yeah.
That's one thing I have to look at, dude. Just because, like, I don't know anything about Mormonism, and it's like,
You
like,
don't
what
know?
is the story? Where did it
Hey.
even? Why did it even come up? That's for a different topic.
Yeah, no,
but-
that's going to be another topic, and that one's going to be a lot of fun.
yeah.
We're going to tick a lot of people
I was
off.
gonna say
though.
that's gonna be controversial because
Oh, yeah,
there's
we're gonna
guys
make
walking
people
around
mad.
right now that believe that. So
Yeah, you got to put them holy underwear on, man. And what I'm talking about is like not holes in your underpants.
okay, I'm gonna put a pin in that one.
Yeah, you need to look at it.
Holy underwear. Can,
Holy
can I Google search holy
yeah,
underwear?
Yeah, absolutely, you can. You should do it.
No, that ain't happening. The black coach would knock on my door instantly. Sir, why do you have pictures
Underwear.
of holy? Anyway, so do we? All right. So we've talked this out for how long now?
A little bit over an hour.
Hour and 6 minutes.
Okay, so we've talked this out around the room. Do you think the Book of Enoch is A, real, and is it B, credible? Steven, go first.
I'm going to say pieces of it are real. Pieces of it are going to be credible because I think if, they're talking about it later in the Bible, certain parts of it, I think that can be credible in those areas. I can't take it as a whole as being credible.
Okay.
I know that's kind of dip my toe in the water a little bit, but no, I don't think it's all credible.
How about you, Connor?
I concur with that statement.
Yeah.
I think since there's credible evidence that it wasn't even wrote by him, we can't do anything with it. We can only trust the parts that are mentioned in the Bible that connect back. That's the only thing we can do. It's just like, okay, there's dots. There's little tiny dots that connect. It's like, that's
I think
it.
that you can take some pieces and then you can make sense out of Genesis 6 with some of it. So I think that those parts could be accurate.
Mhm.
I think that, maybe that's how Nephilim got here. That would make sense. I think that we've got evidence today of people finding giant bones and stuff like that, that all of those things probably are credible.
Mhm.
There's other parts of it where I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, getting a backstage pass
Yeah.
seems a little.
Yeah. Hey, just jump in my spaceship. I'm going to show you all the.
Sounds like a
But-
song.
But we know he walked with God.
We do. But
So what did he say when he went?
He walked with God. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that just a metaphor of what he was doing, or is he like physically him and God's,
Up there hanging
bumping
out.
elbows?
Yeah.
Throwing ball together,
I don't know that could just be a metaphor of like, I would say we all walk with God too. We have a
Mhm.
relationship with God.
Mhm.
Sure.
So we're walking the way that he leads us. Is that what they're saying? Or are they saying like him and, they're up there?
We were riding one of those 2-seated bicycles, Is that,
You
is that
know.
what we're saying?
Had a weird mental image pop in my head.
I didn't do.
This is like an AI image.
Yeah. Yeah. Had to have been.
Just a gif. Two dudes with beards just riding on.
Just high fiving, drinking
Holy water.
Diet Coke.
All right, Joey, where are you at there?
How am I going to follow that? Yes. I think I'm kind of like you. There's some pieces that are credible. I think there's a reason why it's not part of the Bible. I do think there is a reason why it's making its way back in.
I do too.
I think we're getting prepared. Not going full apocalyptico here, but
Yeah.
it's
Just something feels off.
yeah. So
Something's felt off for a while. I think
Yeah.
anybody in the world would probably say
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah. So and here's why. So aside from Ethiopian Christians having this text and using it as part of the Bible, they've had it in their text from the beginning. It's like they got the Bible. This is part of it. And to this day, Ethiopian Christians believe this is all real. The rest of the world, it was wiped clean.
Theirs is still only Enoch 1, though.
Yeah.
They don't go into 2 and 3.
Yeah, we didn't even dug into that at all.
2 and 3.
I don't think we even should. And that seems
what
useless.
I read part of 2 and 3?
I think so. If you're
mine was the whole thing?
Yeah, I think you were all in.
Okay.
And that's why you
Enoch
probably
2 and 3 is where it gets like real weird.
Really weird. Okay.
Yeah, like Noah was an albino. Like it's
that's right. We didn't even talk about that yet.
Yeah, Noah was an albino dude.
Yeah, it said in the last chapter or 2 that Noah was born with hair of wool and white skin and eyes of fire, which to me is described as an albino with red pigmented eyes, white hair, white skin.
Like it takes a weird turn to me.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he was. I don't think that's relevant necessarily, but
because according to the Book of Enoch, Methuselah had to talk Lamech off the ledge because he thought his son was an angel baby because he was born so weirdly.
This dude's too weird for me, man.
Yeah.
I think Third Eyed Blind has a song about that.
Where was I? Dude, where was I? We're such middle schoolers.
Noah being an albino.
Yeah,
albino Noah.
Before that. So anyway,
yeah, you were talking about Ethiopia.
So
still using it.
Yep, still using it. It was wiped clean in 400 AD from history. Like it was not a thing anymore. Nobody talked about it. The biblical scholars of the day in around 400 AD said, nope, not part of the Bible. We're not talking about it. Wiped it clean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. An explorer, I can't remember where he's from. Anyway, he heads over to Ethiopia, says, what's up, dudes? He finds the Book of Enoch through them.
Mm-hmm.
He brings back 4 copies wherever he was from, I guess in Europe area.
Yeah, it would be
1700s. Yeah, somewhere in there. And then it started kind of getting recirculated then. And this is 1700s.
Mm-hmm.
1947, is that what you said? It was uncovered in
in Jerusalem or
the
Israel
cave
somewhere.
of...
It was in the caves with the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Say the name.
I don't know it.
Weird name started with a Q.
Chupacabra. I don't
Something
know.
like that.
Yeah, it's chupacabra.
Yeah, chupacabra caves.
The old Hebrew word chupacabra.
So 1940
stands for dirty dog.
Yeah. 1947, it makes its way back. It's like, hey, here's this thing next to the Bible. It's a thing.
Right.
Fast forward, 60, 70 years now. We've got the internet.
Yeah.
It's all over the internet. Everybody's talking about it. So given that information, I think there's a reason why we're talking about it.
I think that there is some credibility in that for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, why would it maintain for this length of time if there was nothing to be learned from it? But I still don't think you put faith in it.
No.
Yeah.
I think that Spirit led the Bible to be what the Bible's been this entire time.
Yep.
And this is maybe in addition to that, but not all of it.
Yeah. And playing skeptic here, like this could just be coincidence that we're living in an information age where...
And people have hyper focused on one verse that nobody's really ever...
Because talking about giants is super cool.
Well, I think it's
different than what we know. You know, it's just different.
I think a lot of people get bored with just the regular gospel, which is wrong. But you just want there to be other things to dig into a little bit.
I got to tell you, man, this is lit a fire in me to dig and to study more than what I would normally do.
Because this little piece I need to know about this, and then I need to know about that.
I'm reading Revelations tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things that you just have to know for any of this to make sense. So it just broadens the spectrum of your learning and your willingness to learn a little bit.
So maybe that's why this is coming in the face right now, is like getting guys like us bored and tired of hearing the same thing at church to dig in and
get closer to God. For me, it feels like that. Like
100%.
It just makes me want to just learn more. And when you learn more, when you read the Bible, it's like when you read the Bible, you're getting closer to God. Yeah. It's like just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop.
I think so too.
Connor, you just mic dropped this.
Yep. That was a good one.
Yeah, we're just gonna stop there. And that was dude, man, that was deep, man.
Yeah. I feel like we could have went longer, but there's so much stuff. And I think
we're going to circle back on this.
Nah, I mean, any conversation we're going to have is probably going to come back to this one.
Yeah.
That's why I think that it's
we'll just
really
continue.
good.
We'll just all continue to just study.
It's a good place for us as a podcast to start because we're probably going to be drawing information off of this for an extended period of time.
Yeah. 100%.
So let's, what's next week?
Oof. We're going to have to talk about next week.
We'll talk about that off air.
We'll talk offline, kind of figure out where we want to go from here.
I kind of want to shift gears.
Mm-hmm. This was a lot of information.
Yeah, it's gonna take my brain a while.
This was a brute of a conversation,
and we scratched the surface. Maybe.
Yeah, I think we talk about future world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
CERN.
CERN. Those weird.
Shrouded Realities podcast, man. We're gonna talk about anything shrouded in reality.
If it's shrouded in reality, then it's
shrouded and it's not reality.
Right.
Yeah, maybe in that too.
That
if it's reality and not shrouded,
yeah, we don't care about that.
Yeah.
That's all boring stuff.
Man. That's a work week.
That's right.
If you can read about it on NBC.com.
Yeah. Keep it to yourself, boomer.
We want to research the stuff that NBC.com says is not true.
Yeah.
We're hoping to be monetized by pocket catheters by next week, so we'll see how it goes.
I don't know what's in my hands right now.
I don't either.
Petting a dog, that's what you're doing.
Okay. Well, let's wrap it up on behalf of Connor, Steven, and Joey. Man, I appreciate you guys listening. And we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Yo.